So since Level Up Expo has been over for a while, instead of going over a breakdown of top 8, I'm instead going to go over some runs of players I felt like may have gone under the radar from this event. Before there were mods to get the game to function online, before there were built-to-bear characters, before there was a creative mode with Steve, there was me, Gunner. Yes, me, Gunner. The Dominican Republic's very own me Gunner made Capitan Nito racked up several significant wins, only losing to Light, who got first place, and Salt 1, who got 5th. Capitan would make it out of winner side pools, only dropping a single game to Taiwan's #1 ranked player Meizu Shine. In top 64, he would go on to fight MVD, which he would win in a game 5 set with a 3 stock. Unfortunately, shortly after this, he would run into Light, which would hand him a 3-0 loss. It wasn't the worst thing though, since he only had to win one more set to make it to top 16. He would do this by taking a set off of one of SoCal's favorite players, Void, with a 3-2 victory. This secured his spot in the top 16 through losers. He would then run into the Utah Marth box user, Creek, which he would beat in a convincing 3-0.
Love that KO just a moment before. No, wow. no, not like this.
What a way to go out.
In fact, in game 1, he went untouched for a complete minute and 20 seconds while also taking one of Creek's stocks and pushing him past 100% on his second one. After this, he would have to fight Salt 1 for a spot in top 8. Capitan would beat his Roy game 1, forcing Salt 1 to switch onto Cloud. This switch proved to be the solution for Salt 1, as he would sweep him for 3 games in a row, which, to be fair, all went down to last hit. This ultimately ended the Mii's run at 9th place. When it comes to the history of Vegas Smash, few players have the stats and longevity of Ven. The crowned hometown hero would pilot the Hyrule Princess to one of the greatest placings at a super major, as well as collecting some of the character's best wins to date. Ven would make it out of winner side pools, beating SoCal's very own Nexus to advance to top 64. From here, he had a nail-biter game 5 set versus Louis Money, which would end up going in favor of the NorCal Palu. For some people, they may be satisfied with just a top 64 placing, but that wasn't enough for one of Vegas' best. Ven would go on a warpath in losers, taking sets off players like SoCal's Demon and Abe back-to-back in game 5 sets. After that, he would destroy the Titan Chronos in a dominant 3-0 victory to qualify for top 16. That wasn't the end of Ven's run either. He would then have to fight against fellow Vegas player Frog, in which Ven would come out on top of in a game 5 set.
Oh my God! And Ven moves on! Ven able to layer his offense beautifully.
Ven then later had to fight a newly returned Mr. E, who ultimately did end Ven's run at 9th place in a 3-1 victory, but not before sending a message to him that the Queen of Hyrule wouldn't go down without a fight.
Wow. What?
What the heck?
Was that a down tilt into night into fair?
Speaking of the Premier Lucina main, Mr. E is probably someone that people may have forgotten about post-lockdown era, as his presence in the States has been spotty. He had gone to EU and mainly competed there till the summer of 2022, after which he had returned to his local scene, occasionally going to majors like Super Smash Con, where he got a win over Sonics, and in Apex, where he secured dubs over Haven and Squid Point. Despite these wins, Mr. E had not broken into a top 8 at a US major for a while, and it was about time for him to remind everyone why he's one of the top Lucinas in the game. Mr. E was not only able to make top 8, he didn't drop a single game on his path to top 16, with 3-0s over both SoCal's #1 ranked player Chase and Utah's newly ranked #1 player Krieg, who had previously upset a Jackal right before with a 3-1 victory.
You know, the way that ended, you wouldn't even know if Krieg had the lead, but good effort for sure. Definitely makes Marth look.
Now being guaranteed 9th, Mr. E would have to fight one of his old bracket demons, Light. Let's just say, it wasn't pretty.
Known for having some of the best reaction time in Smash Ultimate.
How do you even get reaction time? Oh, well, God.
He goes for one ledge trump.
You know, get some of these stray hits on like F tilt, you know, to get him off stage.
Even though he got decimated versus Light, he would be able to secure top 8 with a solid victory over Ven in a 3-1 set to advance into top 8. Finally cracking top 8, but not satisfied, Mr. E would continue his run with another win, this time winning a Game 5 set against former top 10 player in the world, Zamba.
End up costing him, and Mr. E waited for it. A little bit of fear in Zamba, gonna result in a W for Mr. E. Two absolute GOATs.
His run would ultimately end at the hands of Cosmos, who won in the Game 5 last stock set, ending his run at 5th. Even though he would have liked to have placed higher, Mr. E's run at Level Up Expo showed the world that he's not only one of the best Lucinas in the game, but that he can compete with the best as well. When it comes to SoCal players, you may think of people like Void, Larry Lur, Charlie the King, Nico, and Chase. Well, you may be surprised to hear that there is another player who's been on a rampage for quite a while within the region who also happens to play one of the game's most controversial characters, Nito. The FGC man has picked up the sticks and has been on a tear ever since, and at Level Up Expo he would leave one hell of an impact. Nito got 9th, making him both the highest placing Kazuya and the highest placing SoCal player at the event. But how did he get here? Nito had a breeze in pools, not dropping a single game, in the process collecting a win over Hungrybox, which would leave the Puffman questioning who was really behind that controller. Advancing into top 64, he would ultimately lose to Kronos in a 3-0 loss, which would send him into one hell of a loser's run. He would take out players like Atreus, Juice, and Louis Money to secure his spot in the top 16.
Uh-oh, that's out of the jump!
Beautiful.
And that's how it ends!
Beautiful way to end that out. I mean, catching the jump there, no resources for...
The next day, he would square off against Moist Goblin, leaving him wet with a 3-1 victory.
What the? Oh, no!
Damn,
Well,
that just armored him.
Yeah, he just...
The jab just...
His run would ultimately be stopped by Zamba, where he lost 3-1, keeping him just outside of the top 8.
Out of the jump as well, we have very
Jeez.
limited options, and option select we do.
GG.
Zamba is going to take it in dominant fashion.
With a run like this, Nito helps to not only cement himself as one of the best Kazuyas and SoCal players, but also shows that SoCal is returning to its former glory.
Can't let it sink in because then I get nervous. I'm just here in the moment.
Before we go, we would like to give some honorable mentions to some players who have gotten some really good wins and placings, but weren't quite as high as the previously mentioned players. Starting off with Nexus, the SoCal Falco, who got 25th with the win over Dakpo.
The best player I beat was probably Dakpo.
Up next, we have the SoCal Meta Knight player Elvis, who got 25th with the wins over Justice and Dr. Iggy. Up next, we have Club Smash's Falcon player Andric, who got 17th with the win over Justice. Next, we have Illusion, who got 33rd with the win over HBox. Next, we have SoCal's #1 player Chase, who got 17th with wins over Kairos and Jackal. Next, we have Kles from SoCal, who got 25th with wins over Caius and Seesaw. Going back to Vegas, we have Frog, who got 13th with wins over Goblin and Capsize. Up next, we have MVD, who got 9th place with wins over D-Dog and Wrath. Next, we have Armo, who got 17th place with the wins over Kles.
And Armo with the pop-off because he just beat one of the vets a smash.
And finally, we have Capsize, who got 17th with wins on Illusion, Elvis, and Atreus.
Oh, the forward air is going to be enough. Just slides it in there. Good stuff to my boy.
Thank you guys for watching this video. It took a lot longer than expected to make, but it's been a pleasure to do. If you can, like, comment, and share this video to whoever you think will be interested. This is Jerry, signing off.